The Triple Trio with Hutchi, Richo and RS Dye. It's Hong Kong racing with the blinkers off.
Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new edition of the Triple Trio. Looking forward to great racing this weekend at Sha Tin. We do it with the best in the business, the great form analyst in Clint Hutchison, and the golden boy, the Hall of Famer in Shane Dye. And Hutchie, good week last week as always. Welcome.
It was a good week last week. It was not a good Wednesday, that's for sure. A little bit of rain.
I didn't want to mention that.
No, but we have to. And look, it's been a good month. We're still well ahead. But I was missed the mark by a long way on Wednesday. But looking forward to going forward. Exciting horse. Victor the Winner was one of the highlights last week, of course. And we spoke about the fact that Zach recommended to Neasham to run him. I think the first two past the post here, definitely horses to keep following Victor the Winner and How Deep Is Your Love. So that was one of the nicer results. And of course,
Hyper Dragon Ball identified by our team.
Geez, a couple of these started very short, didn't they, on the day? But I suppose they ended up winning. I'm not sure they won like even money pops or $1.90 chances, but a couple of nice little results.
Golden Boy, lots to talk about as we build up towards the Group 1s, not this weekend, but the following weekend. Welcome.
Nice to see you, the bald one.
I'm bald and proud, my friend. How's the week been for you?
I'm golden and proud. You got to knock that one on the head, mate. It's run its course, hasn't it?
Hell no. You'll always be the golden boy in our eyes, I can assure you, because it's not necessarily about the colour of your hair. It was so many other things. And you've seen our big promo of the Triple Trio. When it sits on 7+, it is a little photo of us two and a massive photo of you with your golden lock.
Thanks, mate. That's lovely. We've been saying there's been 2 or 3 horses in most races, and they've been running 1, 2. So if you're playing the Quinella in a lot of races, you've got to be winning at present because they're just standing out.
We've got a very special guest for our star power, 2 guests, in fact, Andrew Forsman and also Annabel Neasham. We've got Genius or Slaughter. We've got some Hong Kong Racing School. Nicole Purton's done the second part of her interview, which will be fantastic as well. But first, let's burst out of the gate. We burst out of the gates, Hutch, with a treble to Zach Purton.
Yeah, he continues. Well, you'd expect Zach to be doing well, of course, I think, under the current landscape in terms of the rides he's getting. He's another exciting horse. We mentioned Victor the Winner. He's got another one here for, of course, John Size in Golden Express. Sat off a really good tempo. And, he's clearly a horse that's going places. And Zach didn't really need to get too serious with him. He had the race pass up a fair way from home, but no, he had a good day at the office, and like I said, you'd be expecting him to continue on his merry way. I don't know if he'll get that 170, though. It's going to be
He's 121 at the moment, so he leads, dominates, double, basically, Vincent Ho on 65. And Huey Bowman moves to outright third now with 45 wins, Shane, as he continues to make a big impact. Another person making an impact, a guy that you put on the star on our agenda, and that is Jamie Richards, another double during the week. Things are going well for his stable.
Yeah, they're racing well. He's having doubles now. He wasn't originally. He started slow, but he's only going to get bigger and better. And next season, he'll go up a notch again.
It's amazing with and his a look at London Lucky Star has actually been in unbelievable form, of course, for Francis Lloyd's doing a great job. But yeah, there was a bit of rain about on the track. We're going to cover that a little bit later, just in terms of what transpired. But Magniac on the backup, that was the recipe in Australia when he was in Perth for success. I think he liked the cushion in the track. I think he liked the backup, but more so for Jamie Richards, really going well. I mean, he hasn't had a whole lot of runners. I think he's under 250 in terms
235 runners for 27 winners.
It's a lot, and probably just needs to run more horses, I think. He's obviously taking his time, and his strike rate's fantastic. But he is doing very, very well, and I would imagine he's garnering a lot of support on the back of his success. And I think he's overtaken, was it David Hayes now in the trainers?
Yeah, he's got a little one win lead over Hazy. So Hazy sits on 26, still ahead. Casper Founds, say, for example, on 36. John Size sits on top at the moment with 52 wins ahead of Ricky Yu on 47. So that's the training premiership at the moment. Now, we're building up towards the Group 1s. We've seen a few of the superstars trial. Firstly, Golden 60 trial.
Yeah, he's always been a good worker, and they don't really ask him to do much. The incredible job really that Francis Loy, Shane has done with his horses, and Vincent's been part of that. You mentioned in other shows about Chris Waller and Hugh Bowman with Winks, and look, there's a lot of similarities between these horses, and in terms of what the trainers and jockeys have done and the relationships they've had with these horses.
Oh, definitely, 100%. You know, you got to help them along the way to sustain their ability. You can't burn them early in their career or early in the preparation because they haven't got it at the end of the preparation. And Yui was so good on Winks. He just looked after her so well, and he gave her good rides. And Vincent's done the same with Golden 60. He's taught him how to race properly, and he's responding to him, and he's only going to keep winning.
Well, I hope Hugh comes on the show next time, Shane. Apparently, with your comments making the press recently.
Oh, what happened? Take us through that.
South China Post.
What did they say?
They referenced what we said about the sword point in the derby. And
okay.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about that, Clint, was you were the one who brought it up and said, what an absolute slaughter. Why didn't he do this? And you went on for 5 minutes about it, and then I just backed up something that he should have gone down the back, which he should have, and it probably would have won. And they put my comments in, but not yours, Clint, I see.
Clearly, your opinion matters a lot more than mine, Shane.
I wasn't even going to give it a mention until you brought it up, actually. But actually, that horse there, if he goes down the back and whips up and around, he probably wins the race. There's no risk. But, geez, he didn't trial very well last week, that horse.
Keep in mind, amongst the three of us, we're in one Hall of Fame in racing.
That's right. Correct.
Actually, Shane's probably in two. He's in New Zealand and Australia, actually. My mistake.
I'm multi, 2 countries.
We're just here to shine his shoes, basically.
We're a little bit of garnish on the side of the plate. So Golden 60 trialled. Any of the other superstars have done any sort of
Romantic Warriors trialled extremely well a little while ago on the turf. I thought it was a fantastic piece of work from him. So, look, for mine, he hasn't quite recaptured that form from the International Cup back in December. J-Mac back on, trialling well. He's going to get me again, but what a race. We're going to talk a lot about that next week. But I think he's going as well as he's gone all season, put it that way.
Cannot wait for that. Our black bookers here on the Triple Trio is called Sweet in Defeat. That's next.
They're off, and Sugar missed the start by 4 lengths. Then Dublin Star, Sugar fast buck, smart leader. Oversubscribed, lunges at the post, missed. Sugar, that's a sweet win for Alfie Chad.
So we blow the dust off the black book of who is Sweet in Defeat, Hutch?
Yeah, I've had quite a few that I could have made a case for. I mean, in recent weeks, we've sort of been a bit light, but I had a lot from the meeting at Sha Tin.
Oh, wow.
Heavenly Thought, back in the field, wide no cover, kept on well. He's got to find the right race in Class 5. He'll be winning. Got Sunlight Power. Euro rocks off a strong speed, kept on the line really well. He's a Kiwi import. He'll be third up next time. He'll go very close. Happy Together. Well, it was a very messy race last weekend, the final event, and it wasn't great for us. But I think we're on the right 2 horses in Happy Together and Universal Horizon. But look, it didn't pan out for Zach. He ended up getting pushed right off the track. And that horse has had excuses at his last 2. And Brave Star on a rain-affected track during the week, I thought was also excellent. Chased a really hot speed. We had a play on this horse. He was a big price early, Sunlight Power, on the back of a couple of nice trials for Ricky Yu. He jumped fairly. What happened was there was a horse that was scratched. He was standing in there a long time. It's his first day at the races, and he just didn't step that well. So he was on the back foot. You can see Kara sticks to the inside. Oh, it was a hard watch because he's been back. He's been buried full back to the inside. He gets off and gets his run late, but they didn't go quick enough, Shane, here, and he let go with some of the best sectionals at the meeting. And clearly, I think just with that race experience, and now he'll improve a lot on this. I thought it was a terrific run and defeat.
He got home well. I think he came home in 22.43, which is very good. And he probably 1,400 would even suit him, Clint, looking at this.
I think, and I'd be forgiving of that start, Shane, because that horse got scratched, played up, and just for a horse going around there the first time, when you're standing there for a long time, it just didn't help him, I don't think.
You mentioned one there, Heavenly Thought. He's racing well. Can you remember him originally? He ran second, I think, in the Queensland Derby behind Dark Dream, who came here and did very well. And, of course, he come here on a rating of 88, and he's down to 20 now in Class 5. It's incredible. But he is racing well.
Yep, running over sprint distances as well, so it's quite remarkable. But he'll be one to follow.
Okay, so Heavenly Thought, Sunlight Power, Euro Rocks, Happy Together, and Brave Star all go into the Sweet in Defeat file. So there's some for us to follow into the future. Genius or Slot?
They sweep for home now. Beander Cross has come very wide. Beander Cross answering the urgings of Shane Dye. Mannerism coming at him. Mannerism has got it.
Daring tactics by Shane Dye. He's got Octagonal in full flight on the corner. Bold tactics by Shane Dye are going to pay off, and he pinches the Chipping Norton.
Genius or Slaughter. This is when we get into the mind of the Hall of Fame jockey, the golden boy in Raymond Shane Dye. Who caught your eye on a positive note, Shane?
There were quite a few on Wednesday night and last weekend, but we're going to start with the best ride of the day. What's this one? Power Wings. This is such a good ride of Alexi. He just took off at the right time. He comes across. He's back in the field. Now, as I keep saying, when you drop pace at about the 800 metres and the leaders start to crawl, the leaders don't win those races because the horses from back make up enough ground up and around, and they've done no work to get there, whereas the leaders have worked early, and it just suits back markers. When the pace drops, it always does. They just win. But he just gambled, and this is what I keep saying, you got to gamble. Watch him here, Purple Cap. The other one to watch is Zach. Zach got onto his back, but he lost a length, and he should have won the race if he had stayed onto him when he went. But he was just a touch too far. Now, Lexi goes, he's not working, he's travelling, and he's made up 6 lengths, and he's done now. Zach's missed the boat a bit there because Yui's come out on Simba, the favourite or second favourite, and that's put Zach another length and getting pushed wider because he wasn't onto his back. Powerful Wings is back with Alexi. Alexi's done no work. He's third 3 deep. And as I keep saying, it doesn't matter how wide you go if you're not working and they're going slow. And that horse just had to sprint up the straight and it was too good. Happy Together probably should have won again, Clint. It just couldn't track onto him at the 700. Yeah. If he does, he's outside of him and he wins for sure. But a very, very good ride from Alexi. He got it right in the Derby and he definitely got it right here.
Yeah, our subscribers were on him and Universal Horizon. And would you say with Vincent, I mean, he came around Vincent, who was in the 1-1. We often say it here, Richo, that they missed the boat. Should he have been a little bit more aggressive, Vincent, and aware of what was going on, given that he was actually in a really good spot?
I can't comment until I go back and look at it, right? I have to go back and have another look. As you know, I just do it race day and it caught my attention. What caught my attention was Zach couldn't keep up on the back of him and Yui come out and pushed him wide, and that's what cost him the race. Yui did nothing wrong and Zach probably did nothing wrong apart from he should have just got onto that horse's back, Powerful Wings, and he wins.
Huey Bowman also gets a big tick for you for a ride on Maximise Heart.
Very, very good ride here. Drew wide. Now, this horse has been out of form. He used to lead, if you remember, or race up on the pace, and Yui's just gone back and he's given him a lovely ride here. Just relax, but just he doesn't panic. He doesn't go wide. He just stays on the fence, saves ground and saves energy. And that's what I keep saying. It's about energy. He doesn't work and runs come because he's so far back. It's when you're 3 back the fence and travelling that runs don't come. They just open up and he just never panics. He just bides his time. He pushes this one out of the way a bit and he can do that. He's entitled, but he made sure he wasn't in trouble. And out he comes, and this horse did go better to start before, but before that he was out of form, but he's found the key to him riding him back, and he's hit the line well, Clint. Very good ride.
What I like about you as well, you mentioned he used to lead this horse, Shane, and you used to ride them on a pretty short rein like Marrera, but you has them on a very long rein. I love it that he can relax a horse out the back, and he has them almost on a long rein, so he has them travelling well. I think it's an actual, his skill of that, of being able to get a horse to relax on that sort of almost a loose rein is a real skill.
Oh, now here's another very good ride on Wednesday night.
Vincent Hone.
6th generation.
This was a
Gate
beauty.
9. Just watch this ride. Vincent, he gets onto the fence somehow. He comes back, gets in straight here. This horse is flying, this horse. He led 3 starts ago and they found the key to him that's not his go. But he come back here. He's still got one inside of him, so he stays off. But before you know it, he's on the fence. And he just got onto the fence, never left the fence, and dashed clear to win very easy. Clint, this was a great ride.
Oh, that is a piece of
It was the best ride of the night, no doubt about it. He had a bit of a nightmare in an earlier race, Vincent, which maybe we'll see if it makes the slaughter file or not. But he actually sort of popped into a bad position at a key stage. But this was an unbelievably good ride from Vincent. From that wide gate, it's not easy to do. Slotted him and run of the race.
He goes around one horse.
Took all the gaps, and Jamie Richards is another winner for him. He's got this horse flying, and a little bit of cushion in the track probably didn't hurt at this stage, but no, great ride from Vincent, no question there.
Oh, yeah,
there were a couple other very good rides on Wednesday night also. I don't know whether we're going to show them. Gallant Hero with Zach gave that a very, very good ride. And, of course, Yui again on Nordic, what was it? Dragon.
Nordic Dragon.
What a great ride. He's taught that horse to race properly. You know, I say horses just don't learn to race properly. You got to teach them. That horse was going too hard up there and he was weak. Yui rode him 2 starts ago and dragged him back, and he ran on well. And he had to be taught to race properly. Then on Wednesday night, he just went back naturally, relaxed, and got home and won. He was a different horse because Yui had taught him the start before how to race. Very good ride.
We can have, I suppose, notable mentions like they do in America.
Yeah,
you have your team.
Yeah.
Notable mentions. So that might fill the. I'm looking forward to this bit though. The
Slaughters, Shane. Who caught your eye?
Well, this is a classic. Have a look at this a couple of nights ago, and it's none of the boys in Hong Kong or Australia. I'm going to England. This is
Pat Cosgrave.
Who is it?
Pat
Richo?
Cosgrave, Caulfield Cup winning jockey.
Wow. Have a look at this. He thinks he's going to win. And watch this horse inside come up here. Now, he pulls this horse back at the winning post. He starts to pull him back. Look here. And the other one, he doesn't even realise. Oh, my God. If he doesn't pull him back, he still wins. And guess what, Richo? He got 28 days for it. If it was in Australia, he would get a year. When I was riding, you'd get 1 to 3 years for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably 3 in my day. Now they're getting that lenient with the boys. They hardly give him anything, and he's got 28 days. It was incredible. That's as good as you get, Richo, that one.
Oh my God. And do you know what price he was, that horse? He
was $1.20.
Into $1.16.
Into $1. Did you back him, Richo?
No, I didn't.
But there should be a decent penalty, should there? In all seriousness.
28 days?
I mean, we had Christophe Simeon push another rider off dangerously. What did he get, 2 months or 3 months?
Yeah.
A month for that, it's substantially more in Hong Kong.
What are the punters?
It should be substantially more here as well. I think apart from anything else, Shane, it's the perception for people that don't watch racing and they see that on a mainstream or on social media, their initial reaction would be, well, that guy hasn't tried on that horse, which we all know is not the case. He's misjudged it and done something he hasn't. But there is a perception angle to this that there has to be a serious deterrent with these guys not to do that.
Clint, that's what I worry about in Hong Kong because it's an art to it, you know. I had it down to it. I really got that down when I was riding. There is an art to it. But the boys in Hong Kong have to be careful. They don't want to be winning by 4 or 5 lengths. They want to be winning by a length. So the horses don't go up too much. And that's the handicapper's problem because he puts them up so much. So you got to look after the owner, the trainer, and the horse, but you can't be doing that and getting time. So it's a fine line and balancing. That was just ridiculous, that.
Get your pens and papers. We're going to get into the classroom up next. Well, in today's Hong Kong Racing School, we've taken some questions from our audience. And Hutch, the first one's directed to you, and it's from Kevin. Here is the question. And how does the Hong Kong Jockey Club rate their track conditions for grass? Is it just good? At Happy Valley on Wednesday, it appeared to be rain during the meeting. The track was posted as being good from race 1 right through to race 9.
Very interesting point that is brought up. And I think this is something that the Jockey Club probably does need to address going forward because it is a little we often get good tracks or good to firm tracks and they don't readjust through the meeting. We had considerable rainfall. Personally, when I go back through and rate the track condition, and here's an indication of what we get in Hong Kong.
Right.
95 times out of 100, you're going to get a good to firm track. And, you know, obviously late in the year when you get the other conditions, they'll put that up. Different to the Australian style where we have, you know, firm 2s through to soft 6s through all the way to heavy 9s and 10s, etc. But in Hong Kong, it's a broader assessment of the track, as you see here. Most of the time, they'll have good to firm. It is a little misleading, though, to people that are doing the form. because the first race of the night on at Happy Valley was a quick track. It was quicker than probably your average sort of good to firm. And then by the end of the night, we were, I think, according to my stuff, about 3.5 lengths slower than what it was racing at the start of the meeting. And in between it changes. So that's a bit of the art of doing the form as well, adjusting the track condition. But the club probably, I'm not sure, maybe they need to, in retrospectively, change these conditions in terms of the track assessment, or you have to be aware of it. It is definitely something to take note of. I mean, Shane, you would be well aware of other meetings we've had of late that will look in the form guide like it's on a good surface, and we've had rain during the meeting and it clearly hasn't been a good track. It's been considerably different.
In Australia, what used to happen is that you'd come in after a race and they'd ask you how the track was and you'd go really heavy. And it would stay at soft in those days because you had slow, soft, or whatever heavy. Now it's all numbers, but it wasn't then. And they would never downgrade them much there. And you'd just go, oh my God, this is just a heavy track. I'd get home and there'd be 3 or 4 different punters ring me asking my opinion of how the track was for their computers so they could put it in.
It's an interesting discussion because most of the year in Hong Kong you get a very, fair surface, a very even surface, and it plays pretty similarly. But we do have occasions where you have rainfall at a meeting. And I just think when you're going back and you're looking at the form, probably needs a little bit more tinkering. And in terms of what that answer is, we'll leave it to the experts. But yeah, I mean, the last race on Wednesday night, Shane, it was nothing. The track was nothing like the start of the night. And in the form guide, it's going to read both as good tracks. And that the simple fact of the matter is that we all know it wasn't.
It wasn't. It was rain affected for sure.
Australia becomes obsessed by it. Compared to Hong Kong, very little discussion in regards to and especially in Europe, you race at Royal Ascot, they don't really care. They would say parts of the track are good and yielding.
I think in Australia why they get obsessed with it is because if they do get a downgrade or an upgrade, they can scratch. You can't scratch your horse in Hong Kong. If you're rented to run, you have to run. So it doesn't matter. If you get a downgrade, bad luck.
Yeah, I reckon Animo would have scratched if it had a downgrade at the Queen Elizabeth, and Animo retired on Friday. So it goes to start $121,000 service fee. Hey, here's another question from Kaz. And God love Kaz has actually asked it to me. Dear Richo, firstly, love the show and especially interested in RS Dye's Genius or Slaughter segment. Very educational. If I was a jockey, I'd find his insight valuable. I did hear on one episode that RS, the Golden Boy, say that Douglas Whyte is the best rider the Happy Valley track has seen. Is there a way, Shane, to compare Whyte's record with Zach Purton, who now has won the most races there at Happy Valley?
Wait a sec. Before this goes up, I would think that Zach would have ridden more winners and have the better percentage than Douglas.
Okay.
I would think. I don't know, but I would think he would.
Well, let's see how good you are, because I've prepared a few stats because that's what Kaz asked me to do. Douglas Whyte striking at 13.36% at Happy Valley. Zach Purton, Golden Boy, 17.7%.
Okay, so that's a good summary of it. But what you've got to understand is in the days before, like the 1990s and the early 2000s, trainers had stable jockeys. So you just couldn't ride the best horses in every race. And you weren't getting on the best horses in every race. Whereas now, every race, Zach goes out there, he can ride the best horse because there's no stable jockeys there. It wasn't like that in the early 2000s or things. So Douglas is going to ride a lot more outside horses and long-priced horses. But Zach rides Happy Valley very, very well. And I've always stated that. But Douglas was another level at Happy Valley. He would draw outside and be 3 back the fence. He would never come around a horse. He'd cut the corner. And he just rode Happy Valley so well.
You're going to get a Christmas card from Douglas there, Shane, I think, anyway. It's very true. They're both fantastic riders. But I didn't think there'd be that much of a discrepancy in the strike rate, to be serious.
But as I said, Clint, there's no stable riders now, so it's a different ball game, In those days, like the stables had their jockeys and that was it. It's all changed now.
Yeah, I think to balance that out a little bit, Douglas got a lot of good rides. He more often than not get the pick of a lot, and there wasn't really, he had a bit more of a gap than on the field in terms of his selection. Since then, it's been more, probably Joe, Zach, or for a period it was Zach and Douglas, and now we're seeing Hugh.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing actually over the years, Shane in Hong Kong, how there's often been two at the top. You know, they like it's one or the other. I remember back in the 80s, you had George Moore and Tony Cruz. I mean, they used to go sort of toe to toe, and there was probably a 7-year period where you had either one of them. It's funny how there's sort of two camps as far as the jockeys are concerned.
Yeah.
And you had Brett Preble and Dougie going at it a while. You had me and Dougie for 3 years. He was first, I was second. One year I had him very close. We were square with a month to go, and I got suspended in those days. When you got time, remember, Clint, you got 5 meetings?
Yeah.
And not 2 or 3. We went into the suspension in the last month. I think I might have been 1 in front of them. I come out of it, I was 8 behind with 3 or 4 meetings to go, and that was it. You know, I couldn't catch him. No, he won easy.
J-Mac says you shouldn't have been riding midweek.
J-Mac.
Yeah.
Oh, J-Mac. Poor J-Mac. I can't believe he went to Hawkesbury the other day, and it's the carnival.
Yeah.
Like, and he's midweek on a Thursday riding at Hawkesbury. Geez, I tell you what, he must have to pay that mortgage off of that Dare property or something.
Hey, I won't lie to you, it's a big place, so there's a lot to pay off. Great questions from Kevin and Kaz, and we'll continue the contribution from our audience. A quick break, and on the other side, Nicole Purton continues her chat with a South African riding legend.
I'm at the Hong Kong Jockey Club Apprentice School. This is where the next generation of Hong Kong riders like Matthew Chadwick and Vincent Ho are expected to develop from. Let's go inside and learn what it's all about in part 2 of the Inside Running with Felix Coetzee. Felix, what is the aim of the Hong Kong Jockey Club Apprentice Riding School?
To produce homegrown apprentice jockeys who transfer into high quality jockeys in Hong Kong.
Horse racing is one of the most popular sports in Hong Kong. How do young people apply to the program? Can you talk me through the process?
The Racing Talent Training Centre actually advertises for our program, and we do quite a large campaign, and we then interview a lot of people. There are actually a lot of applicants every year, but that list gets whittled down because of, obviously size and weight and that sort of thing. It goes through quite a stringent process of fitness training and a bit of riding as well. And then they also like to have a look at the individual's character.
Felix, what does a normal day involve at the Apprentice Jockey School?
Well, they're at work at around 4:30 to start riding at 4:45. We have our own stable of horses, and when the trainees have finished riding for their outside stables, they come back and they work our horses, which is also a large part of their training because we do a few unique gallops and that sort of things to try and improve them. And after that, they come back and they'll be at the stables, do stable work, finish up on the horses, then come home for breakfast. We go straight into videos for the morning session, and that takes us through to 12 o'clock. From 2, they go back to the stables, do the afternoon shift, which will probably go through to about 4. During that time, I'll usually be training the Australian apprentices on a video, which is also a lot of fun. We support them a lot. And then at about 4:30, they come back, the trainees come back, and we do either a Cert 4 class or racing videos or exercises, mechanical horse, all that sort of thing. And then we finish our day at 6.
What does success look like when an apprentice graduates?
I think that it would be graduating in a pretty short period of time, having done well for a number of stables and retaining relationships with your main stable as well as many as possible others.
And who are the success stories out of the apprentice school?
Well, we well know about Vincent Ho, and his accomplishments in recent years.
Golden 60, and neck to his outside. It's the two great horses of Hong Kong, but it's Golden 60, the greatest of Hong Kong. He beat Romantic Warrior ahead, Vincent Ho and Francis Loy.
Derek Leung, he's also won international races as well as Matthew Chadwick. Jerry Chow has done very nicely as well. And I think we're looking forward to a few more in the near future.
Felix, is there anything that you were told or learnt as an apprentice that you try and instill in the boys and girls here?
The first thing that's jumped to mind is something that happens regularly here. You're riding a horse and you blame the horse for what's gone wrong. Don't ever blame the horse, it's the rider. It's always about the rider. And I'm on at that a lot with these chaps. I've learned that since I've had this position, since I've been breaking in horses as well. It's always about the rider.
How tough is it for an apprentice in Hong Kong, given the pressure and high-class jockey that is already licensed here?
Yes, it's very tough. We all know about the fantastic jockeys that are riding here, and Hong Kong being an unforgiving jurisdiction as far as horse racing is concerned, local riders as well as a number of expat riders work incredibly hard to stay competitive.
And how do you help them prepare and cope with what's to come?
Well, there's a lot of fitness programs and health programs as well. They're open to sports psychology. We have physios, and there's a lot of support for the individuals.
After they graduate, what is one thing you'd like them to remember to integrate into their riding career?
Probably professionalism. It's the most important thing for a jockey, as you well know. And I think if they have that element in them, it'll carry them well through the rest of their career.
Beauty Generation kept going. Beauty Generation, Western Express, Elaine Paragon. Beauty Generation takes the mile. What a thrill for Derek Leung.
Well, wonderful insight into the Hong Kong Jockey Club Apprentice School from a living legend. We continue our flavour of international racing. Let's go. World Racing Global Stuff. Well, our attention in global racing goes to Japan, and Hutch, son of Kidderson Black, who is unbeaten, winning the 2,000 guineas in Japan. This was a breathtaking win. Last on the corner, have a look at this win. What a proper horse Sol Oriens is.
That's quite an amazing performance.
What's this?
Visually, what about the turn of foot, and probably found the better ground, but still, gee, wow. You see some good horses, as we say from time to time. We like to keep an eye on what's going on around the world, but that's a big win.
He's given a windburn as he goes past him.
Yeah.
Mate, these horses are just getting stronger and stronger. You know, like we saw that filly last week, Richo win.
Yeah. The daughter of Yankee Rose, that's right.
And she was incredible what she did. And there's another one. And the one that won in Dubai, oh my God, if he's not the best horse in the world, I'll give up.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing him again. Equinox, he was absolutely breathtaking. Just an update in regards to the World Pool, because I know many of our audience love to bet into this. So we've had a 3-day meeting in Newmarket this week, and we build up towards 2,000 Guineas Day, lock-in stakes day at Newbury, and of course the incredible race on the quirky track that is Epsom for Derby Day. So Whirlpool all to come. Also, talking about that 3-day meeting at Newmarket during the week here, this horse caught my eye. Now, it's trained by James Ferguson. It's owned by Bon Ho. His name is Canberra Legend. He looked gone at one stage and then really savaged the line. He might end up be heading towards a Derby, I reckon.
Yeah, he will be. And I think there was some commentary around that. Bon Ho, G can find a good horse, can't he, Bon Ho? Prolific owner in Hong Kong and around the world, both in UK and in Australia, of course. And got another good one potentially here, like the way he got to the line there in the last 100 metres. I thought it might be a good horse as well, because they're talking about the English Derby, and we'll be covering the Derby on this show as well later in about 6 to 8 weeks' time. But just from a point of view, whether or not that galloper will be well suited over the Derby distance. So we'll just put up our stuff that we've had a look at with this galloper, Canberra legend, of course, who's well named because he's by Australia, of course. And with this cross that we do have, it's a very nice cross. It has to be said. It's not gold, but it's right up there. But in terms of stamina capabilities and having a look at that profile, it would appear at this point, that 1,600 to 2,000 metres might be the sweet spot with the Australia Danehill cross there, as we can see. But we'll have to wait and see what path they decide to take. He does look a very interesting prospect. And if he didn't stay the Derby distance, he might be one that Bonho might want to bring to Hong Kong anyway.
Good on you, Group 1 Goldmine. We love all the stats that they give us there in regards to finding future winners. We're going to add some star power with Andrew Forsman and Annabel Neasham. Let's add a little star power to our show and chat to Group 1 winning trainer from New Zealand and Andrew Forsman, who puts Aegon on the plane and heads over to Hong Kong. Andrew, as always, mate, great to catch up. How does that Aegon arrived in Hong Kong and ready to have a crack at the Group 1?
Yeah, he's travelled really well. He's still there perfectly by all accounts. I'm not there yet, obviously, but Anna, who's looked after him pretty much his whole career, she's travelled up with him. She was on the plane with him, and they take him to work very, very nicely.
Hey, Andrew, you mentioned you're not there yet and you're on your way there. I imagine it'll be a little upgrade in terms of accommodation for what it was a decade ago when you, sort of hooked up there with Jason Tan, of course, who's part of Hutchie's Honkers and stayed in his 300 square metre apartment or foot apartment and, on the couch. I'm tipping the accommodation will be a little bit better this time around.
Yes, same price, but yeah, at another level up, so it'll be good.
In all seriousness, Aegon will talk a little bit about his form as well. That run, I suppose, behind Alligator Blood at Sandown, that's the bit of form that you'll take a little bit of heart from. I know the tempo wasn't overly strong in that race. He'll probably get potentially a similar sort of run this time in Hong Kong as well. So I know Shane likes his sectionals. He ran home in 22-1 that day. So I know he's got better wet track form, but he can run well on top of the ground. And that was a very good performance against some of the better milers in Australia.
Yeah, it was. And I think even if you go back to Flemington, when he ran in the mile at the end of his last preparation in November, he was running behind Alligator Blood. I think only a length off them, giving them a good start. Beat Cascadian home that day. Both he and Cascadian got home, and what was pretty much a sprint home, and their sectionals were good. And I think at the mile there, he wasn't far off them, but you're right. Like his pattern of racing at Whyte for A's does make it hard. And sort of he settles back. He's a little bit tardy out of the gates as a rule, and often leaves himself just that little bit too much to do. But I think the tempting thing about going up to Hong Kong and having a go was the lure of a small field, and hopefully if he draws a soft gate, he doesn't have to be too far off.
So that small field was the reason why Hong Kong came onto the radar, and also obviously the great prize money. Do you think you've got him going well enough to test the best in Hong Kong?
Oh, look, whether he's up to a California Speeder or a Golden 60, I don't know. That's very hard to weigh up the form line or measure up how they all stack up against each other. I did see a market somewhere recently, might have been Ladbrokes, somebody had a market where My Oberon was third favourite for the race. And I just flicked through the form quickly and was thinking, well, I think we've met My Oberon 3 times on good ground and beaten him home every time. So that does give us a little bit of confidence going up there that outside of those top 2 very good horses, I think we should be competitive if we bring our A game.
Shane, it'd be interesting to see where Aegon lines up against the 2 superstars there. If you were riding him, what would you do on Aegon?
Good question. I don't know him well enough, so I can't really answer that. I'm sure Andrew's the one. He's the trainer. He knows him better than me. He's the one to be asking that. But it's going to be very hard to beat Golden 60. He's just so dominant in Hong Kong, and he's such a good horse. And with small field suits him too, Golden 60, because he doesn't find the trouble that he can, and he can race closer than he normally does in small fields.
Well, I suppose the other encouraging thing, Andrew, from your perspective, and this is taking the Australian line of things going forward, what was it, Law of Indices back in December, finished a couple of lengths behind them, maybe a touch more, and you'd say, well, Aegon's more than 2 lengths better than him. So that's probably a line that you can draw.
Yep, and we're going to try something that we haven't tried before with him, and that will race him in blinkers. He jumped out at Flemington a couple of weeks ago with the blinkers on, and he was very sharp. He's probably always been tempted to, but he's always raced well enough to not have the blinkers on. But after his poor run in the mile at Moody Valley, we just thought we're a little bit disappointed. He was off the bridle a long way from home, but actually once he got balanced up on the straight, he actually hit the line okay. I think of this jump out, I don't know really what he beat that day, but he was a lot more switched on, a lot more tractable. He was very strong through the line, where I think he's just been a little bit casual his last couple of starts, and hopefully the blinkers will sharpen him up.
And just give us a quick update, mate, on I know you're building facilities in Australia at the same time as New Zealand. How's all that going for you?
Yeah, so we've just had the first couple of horses back into work at Macedon in the last 2 days, basically. So we've got only 2 in work there, but with the scope to improve and we'll increase our numbers anyway. And we'll just test the waters a little bit over the next 2 to 3 months. We won't get too far ahead of ourselves, and hopefully staff-wise and support from owner-wise, we can sort of build on that and grow over the next couple to 3 months and see where we end up. But no, it's a great opportunity to have. Lucky that the team at Macedon have been very supportive, and looking forward to it.
And Andrew, I suppose just given the results of all the Kiwi-bred gallopers over the autumn in Sydney, just keep bringing those Kiwis across.
Yeah, exactly. It's it was great. Obviously, the championships was brilliant for New Zealand, and year in, year out, we compete and punch above our weight. Great to see that continue.
Mate, Cyclone Forsman's about to hit Sha Tin in Hong Kong, mate. Good luck. We'll tell everyone to strap themselves in.
Absolutely. Cheers, boys.
Andrew Forsman with an update on Aegon. Let's hear from Annabel. Neasham, My Oberon, heads over to Hong Kong. Well, we move from Andrew Forsman to Annabel Neasham to look forward to Champions Day at Sha Tin. Annabel, thanks so much for your time, and how's My Oberon settled in?
Yeah, he's settled in really well. He's got Shari Jamie, who's his usual track work rider, with him. She spent best part of 6 weeks with him at Werribee as well when he first arrived. So, she knows him well, and she said he's feeling as good as ever. So, settled in well. And actually, it's great that he's got Aegon there as well, because when I took Laws of Indices to Hong Kong last time, he was on his own. Whereas this time, it was him and Aegon are in the same complex together. It's just a bit nicer for them having a mate.
Thanks, Annabel. And on that note, having a little bit of a line through taking Laws of Indices over, you must be, I think, it's obviously encouraged you to take across My Oberon and in search of a little bit of success back in Hong Kong, where you would have been thrilled with the performance of Laws of Indices.
Yeah, that was a really good experience. That was our first international runner. And he certainly did us proud that day, running third to the 2 sort of local champs. And we just felt, My Oberon, he's a horse that's well travelled anyway. He's raced in Dubai, and he's just sort of coming to form now. His run was super in the Doncaster, so we thought, why not? A lot of the ownership group are in Zaki as well, and he heads towards Doomben Cup, which probably would have been My Oberon's other option. But luckily for me, they're all game owners. They're great fun, and they're up for an adventure. So we've accepted the invitation, and we're all looking forward to heading over next weekend.
His run in the Doncaster was outstanding. Was it a surprise for you? Because in Melbourne, his 2 previous runs were a bit disappointing. And it was a bit of a shock he ran so well. Did you think he was coming on or not?
Well, it was, probably more that I was probably more shocked at how disappointing he ran in the first 2 runs, because he actually was working very well, better than he had been in Werribee last prep. He surprised me a little bit when he'd won the Crystal Mile, because he wasn't giving me much in quarantine. But luckily I'd had an insight from William Haggis and also Harry Eustace, who had him for a little while before he came over here, and they said he's a bit of a lazy track worker, but he actually had been working very well going into the Futurity. But I probably made a bit of a mistake running him in that race. It was probably throwing him in the deep end against fitter horses. We kicked him off there, but I thought he just ran better in the All-Star Mile. So was it a surprise in Doncaster? Probably not, in that he'd been showing he was going to run well. But I think what's been interesting is I spoke to Tom Marquand about him, who'd ridden him quite a lot back in England. He was sort of his main rider there. And he said to me before the Doncaster, he said, I don't think that horse likes wet ground. He said, we rode him, I think he said it was at Redcar one day on a soft track, and he said he didn't enjoy those conditions at all. But he won the Crystal Mile on a wettish track, and I don't think you could get a much wetter track than we saw that day in the Doncaster. So we probably learned a little bit about him in that he does like the wet, and it's hard to draw lines with horses on what ground they like from Europe, because it's not always the same when they come out here. But a lot of his form's on good ground as well. So hopefully he can perform well on a dry Chartin track, or hopefully they get one of their rare wet tracks. But I'm told it very rarely does get wet there.
No, that's right. Unbelievable drainage there. So can you knock off the two local champs?
Well, I've got the magic man on, so anything's possible. And Joe actually came and rode him last weekend, did his last piece of work, and he worked really well. And there just seems to be a little bit of a sense of timing with the horse. I think he's improved again out of the back end of the Doncaster. He looks terrific. A lot of my import that are geldings have all started going quite woolly in the coat, but he looks amazing in the coat and his skin. And Shari said he's very bright over there. So look, can we knock them off? But your Golden 60's probably got to have an off day. But we know all horses can have an off day. So I think if he brings his A game, he's in my mind, he's a horse with similar ability to Laws of Indices. So that was probably the main reason of accepting to go over there, because we thought he probably could mix it with those horses if he's at his best.
Just outside of that, Annabel, congratulations on a successful autumn. You must be thrilled with how you're going and how the stable's going, and you continue to build on year on year.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's brilliant to have you. Hey, when do you arrive in Hong Kong? Surely you choose Hong Kong over the Doomben Cup.
Well, I'll be in both because they're luckily not on the same day. But I'm just there from the Friday, and then I fly back out. I think it's a midnight flight Sunday to head back.
Right, that sounds fantastic. We'll tell Hong Kong to get ready for you. Brilliant to have you on the show. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
The one and only Annabel Neasham, who's done great things in Australia and takes My Oberon over for the big Group 1 against the local Czech. Let's analyse the card at Chartin over the weekend. And Hutch, we'll start with race number 8 for us, which is on the C+3 course, 1,200 metres.
Yeah, this is the rail's out as far as it goes. And it can be a little trend around this time of year, rail in this position. Sometimes it's better to be, more closer to the front end of the speed and inside. It can play a little up and in. But in fairness, the C+3 of late has played pretty well. Interesting race that we're taking a look at. We've got a key race, which involves the light of Good Buddy, Brave Dreams, of course, and Wonder Kit. We like Wonder Kit this day. Now, on this occasion, the track was a little bit wet. They went very hard. It set up nicely for those back in the field. Good Buddy was resuming. He could improve. Brave Dreams got a great ride. I think it was highlighted by Shane as one of the better rides on the card. And Wonder Kit was disappointing. He started 2:30 fave there on that occasion, Shane. I'm going to give him another chance because I don't see as much pressure in this race. I'm hoping he gets a better surface as well. And I think in terms of how the race maps, he probably gets a much better run on hopefully a quicker surface this time around. So I think he's right in the game, Wonder Kit. But there's not much between the three of those. What were your opinion of those three runners?
I think Midori Beauty gets his chance to win a race. Trialled very good the other day. He's been disappointing at times. He's had a break, but I'm just looking at it now. Yeah, he's going to run a race, Midori Beauty, on his trial. I thought Brave Dreams had all the luck in the world, got everything to suit him. Naturally, he's worse off at the weights. Not much. Not much between the three. There's nothing else in the race, Clint.
No.
Those and Midori, but I'm going to have Midori Beauty probably on top, even though he's a non-winner.
No, I'm with you with him. I think he's the key runner. And that trial that you mentioned was down the straight. He went really well. I mean, the thing with him, Shane, I think it's a big advantage where he's drawn 3 for Matty Chadwick. He can hopefully jump well and then just smother him up. He needs a little bit of cover. I think he is one of those horses that otherwise he'll overdo it. The barrier allows him to settle closer. And I thought the trial like you was fantastic. He's the different form line for this race, but his earlier figures from early in the season in terms of his speed figures, etc., are really good. They're good enough to win this race. And I think that trial indicated he's ready to go. So he's going to be right at the pointy end for me, but I won't be letting Wonder Kit go out without some sort of investment.
And Zach Purton rides Noble Win there?
Yeah, I was a bit perplexed by that.
Yeah.
I didn't really like his debut. Didn't see much there. I wasn't going to be with him, but John Size, Zach Purton, the market will probably keep him relatively safe, I suppose, Shane.
Yeah, he's had a couple of easy trials since his last run. The trouble with him, he sweats up really bad. Watch him at the races. He sweats up very, very badly. He's probably going to be a better horse next season. His actual trials before his first run were all right, but he didn't go well enough to win in his trials. But he goes better than he does first up. But I'm more worried about him losing it at the races and sweating up. So you got to watch what Jenny says about him and see what he's doing in the yard. He'll box seat from gate 2, that horse.
It's a really good point that Shane brings up because you don't see John Size often put the hood, what we call the hood on here, or the earmuffs on in Hong Kong. He doesn't like to use too much gear on horses. This horse at that trial that Shane mentioned, you could see him sweating up at the trial. So he's one that could just, you'd have to wait and see him on the day.
Yeah.
And mentally he's not quite there yet. So it is worth noting, and particularly with John Size runners, he doesn't like to put blinkers. He doesn't change it. Shane, you've ridden for him extensively. I mean, he likes stuff.
Tongue ties, nothing. Tongue ties are a no-no. Blinkers. I used to put their tongues under the bit in the gates when I rode for him if I thought a horse we knew. He's never been big on gear. He takes everything off and gets the horse happy, and that's why he's been very successful and is the best. Simple as that.
I think a few punters will follow the Zach Purton lead, though. Race number 9, Hutchi, how did you analyse his Class 3 over 1,400 metres?
This is an interesting race from the perspective that we have 3 imports, and in Hong Kong they call them private purchases. We've got Kimberley at the top for Tony Millard. California, Voce, is it?
Yep,
I'm not sure.
I'd go with Voce.
California Voce for Tony Cruz. And another newcomer from John Size's yard in Endeared. Now, 2 of these horses have trialled quite well. Now, normally we know that the private purchases or race horses from overseas have a strike rate, generally speaking, of about 5%. So 1 in 20 win. But, a couple of these horses have moved well. Outside of those, and those aside, there's a keep form race. Solid Impact's going to be a good chance. He had every possible here. Run, Buddy, Run. There's not much between them, and Ariel was just behind. I wouldn't be surprised if those horses hold their form. And I think the horse that I'm interested in the race, though, is Beauty Inspire. We made him a Sid, a sweetened defeat last time he ran. Zach rode him back. He was 3 wide, no cover at the tail of the field. He closed off. We mentioned about John Size bringing him back in trip where he wouldn't over race and he hit the line well. Well, once again, it's a beautiful barrier for Beauty Inspire because Zach from gate 3 will not be that far back. He's the horse to beat, but it's a very interesting race for these newcomers. I've got to delve a little bit more into their overseas form because it's a little trickier when you're coming from the other part of the world. You've got to delve a bit deeper. But on what they've done, Endeared trialled well in Chung Fa, and so did California Voce. They've both shown a little bit. I think they're above average on what we see in terms of some of these imports. How did you think the trials of the newcomers were,
They've
Shane?
trialled well, and Dare trialled all right. Yeah, his trials wasn't bad. Now, the trouble with Beauty Inspired is he does things wrong and he pulls. Last start, he pulled very hard at the 800 when Zach just squeezed him a little bit. Soon as Zach squeezed him, that was it. He was off and he pulled. If Zach squeezes this horse out of the gates to be forward, he'll pull too hard. He's got to leave him alone and ride him where he's travelling. He hasn't learned how to race yet. He's the best horse in the race, Clint, but I think he's next season, not now. But he can still win this. His last run was good, and he's definitely got the ability. And from gate 3, what's got gate 2, 1, top T, he'll go forward. He might even lead. Beauty Champ will definitely go. But see, both those horses inside will go forward for sure. So hopefully he'll just be in behind them. And then you've got Run Buddy from an outside gate coming across. I'd probably have Solid Impact on top. I don't think there's a lot between him and Run Buddy. But Beauty Inspired, you are correct. He's the one. If he puts it all together the day he does, he'll be winning.
Okay, so a little push there for Solid Impact ahead of Run Buddy, and Hutchie really likes Beauty Inspire from that.
I think he can win, Richo. I'm not knocking Beauty Inspire.
No, not at all. No, 4, 5 and 6, they're a strong push there, all three of them. Then we get to the last, Hutch.
Yeah, I've got the market up for the last race. I think it's a really interesting race. They're one of the more interesting races on the whole card because we're going to see some of the horses come out of the Derby, namely Sword Point, Sweet Encounter. Those are certainly two. And, of course, let's not forget, horse in Straight Aaron, who went pretty well. I've got Sword Point marked a reasonably short price favourite. He was in the market in the Derby. I'm just thinking Hugh's going to do something. I mean, I think he'll revert back to going forward. This was his Derby run. We've highlighted and we've spoken about it enough, but I think this time around, Shane, surely Hugh says, well, there's Champion Dragon in the race. If he wants to go a bit quick, I can let him go a bit quick, which he probably won't. But he can certainly go forward and settle handy. I thought he was clearly an excuse run there, and a big chance in the race is going to be Alacrity. He set off a good strong speed last start and rounded them up and won well. But these look the two main form references for mine. How did you see the race, Shane?
There's a few horses going well, like Spirit Express is racing well. I think Straight Aaron's could be the horse to beat. I thought his Derby run was very good, and he's had more time at Casper's to acclimatise. He's going higher, that horse, but wouldn't be a surprise. With Sir Sword Point, he's racing well. The only thing with Sword Point, Clint, his trial the other day was no good. He trialled terrible up the straight. Have you seen it? Did you watch it?
Yeah, sometimes I'm a little reluctant to read too much into the trials, but it's a fair call. It's a fair call. The thing that worried me, and I thought the trial from, you mentioned Straight Aaron, I thought his trial was good. He sat out the back. What I am concerned about him, though, he's got no early speed at all. Like he's a horse that just has to get a long way out of his ground, rail out as far as it goes here. I think Sword Point tactically is going to have a big advantage of him. I'm assuming that he's going to hold his form well. And I just felt that Straight Aaron will be standing him up a lot of ground. I'm with you in terms of he's a horse that can go well, but him and Alacrity, they're going to be giving some key chances a big start in the run.
Okay, if I don't see Sword Point's trial, he'd be on top, but I can't put him on top after the trial. That's just the way I work. But wouldn't be a surprise if he won. You know, I'm not saying he can't win, but I'm not as keen as I was a week ago about him.
Shane, put it this way: if he didn't see the trial and he didn't trial, how would you have him in this race? Is he clearly the horse to beat for you?
Oh, definitely, because where he's going to be and where the others are going to be. You got Champion Dragon. You haven't actually got much pace in this. You got Champion Dragon who's going to lead, I would say, for sure. Matthew won on him last start, of course, rating him well. The horse of John Sires is the 5 will go forward. There's not much in it that can actually go. Looking Great is out of form, but he'll be forward. Look at, you go through these horses, they all get back. So he's going to get a very soft lead, Champion Dragon, and Sword Point's just going to be in the first 2 or 3 easy.
Beauty Versus one has been mixing its form.
I also think
he's going no good, Richo.
Hugh will have that article up from the South China Post of Shane's quote on the wall, and he'll be looking at that thinking, I'm not going to make the same mistake again.
Correct.
No, he would have realised he didn't need me to tell him that. He would know that, you know, so.
All right, once he makes his way into the Hall of Fame, then we'll listen to him. Your best of the weekend, Hutchbuster. How do we make a nice living on the weekend?
I like Sword Point. I think he's a great chance. He'd be one of the best. But I think the Quinella does come out of those Derby runners. So I think that one of them, Straight Aaron and Alacrity, that's definitely an interesting one. Race 9, I'll reserve judgment for. But with Shane, I think Maduri Beauty, he's a fantastic chance. But I won't be letting Wonder Kit go non-played either. So those would be the 2 races I think we can get involved in. I don't think there's many chances in that 8th event. I think Maduri's Beauty is one that you can probably play on a win line, and you take the Quinella, like we've mentioned, in terms of Wonder Kit. course. And I think good buddy, I'm more inclined to throw him in the corner. You
about-
might get a bit of value with him.
A little confidence builder early in the day. Yeah, Shane, can you find something early in the day? Hutch as well, little confidence builder.
I'll go the best hero. It's not an easy race, though. There's a lot of horses in form in that race, actually. It's probably not the right one. He ran very well last start, and he hadn't had a run for, 10 months because he had a bone injury. And he's second up, and last season he won second up. He's got gate 4. He's going to just box seat. He gets his chance, but it's not an easy race. I'll go the best hero and probably Midori thing. Just like the way he trialled, and I know on previous form he's got the ability. What race was that, Midori?
Race 8. But if you want to bank Beeler early, it'll be short. But I think Harvar Nagil will be hard to beat again. Shane, you've been a bit of a fan of his.
I've been a fan of that. I've liked him. He's going to be very hard to beat again. I'll tell you what, he won easy last start, but he dug him out of the gates and then he pulled. So he's still got more energy there that he could have won by further, that horse. There's a couple of there. Yes, We Can's racing all right. So We Joy, Rocket Spade, they're all going all right, but he should be winning again. He's going to be odds on, you'd think, though, Clint.
Yeah, he looks to be
a little bank builder, a little confidence builder.
Listen.
Race 1, number 2, we just build that confidence and then launch into late in the day.
Well, Shane, after backing that horse of Cosgraves during the week, Richo took the $1.10 there. Maybe he'd be happy to take the $1.80 Harvar Nagila as well.
Oh, cast $1.16 if you don't mind. RS, have a wonderful weekend, mate. And,
thank you. Take
hopefully
care.
Your bank account just builds. Hutch Buster, looking forward to it.
No, it should be a great weekend, and we've got a lot to look forward to next week. So make sure you tune in.
Hutchie's Honkers, make sure you subscribe, get all the form for this weekend. And of course, hope you're watching us on 7+. Thanks for doing that, or elsewhere around the world. Keep following us next week. We've got all the Group 1 builder.